we'll get going. Michelle, please introduce us, take us away.
Awesome. Well, I'm here to do just the most important job of the whole evening, which is to just say welcome to our open house and to say we're so sorry that we can't give you snacks, beverages, tell you to be careful walking up and down the stairs, tell you where to park. See, this Zoom becomes so easy in life to just log on. But we're super happy to see everyone and see all our new friends that we're making. I want to, of course, thank my powerhouse staff that we have at CASA-EP. Julia, you first. Thank you so much for organizing us and wave so everyone knows what you, this is Julia, our outreach consultant. She's done an amazing job filling the house, you might say. So we're psyched about that. Carrie Lefebvre is a volunteer supervisor. Del Pope, our Director of Training and Development, who, if you all are signing up to be new volunteers, will get to know Del very, very well. Melody, our newest volunteer supervisor. We're so psyched to see you, and I know we're going to hear from you today. I also want to recognize our board members who are on the phone. Tim Hott, who we can't see because he's driving, but we're super psyched to have him aboard. And Tim, I want you to be able to introduce any new board members we have on, so I might call on you in a second. And then lastly, I want to introduce Susan Caperton and maybe ask her to follow up on a welcome. And Susan, if you want to say a few words and then turn it back to Julia for housekeeping, I think we won't pick on you anymore.
Well, thank you. I'd be happy to say a few words. Good evening, everybody, and welcome. Welcome to the CASA virtual open house. Again, thank you to Michelle and to our staff. We've got an amazing team here at CASA. I'm on the board of directors, and I see Patty, and I have to scroll through to find all of our board members. Bill's in here. We've got a bunch of our board members. Tim Hott are joining us tonight. If you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer them. I'm not going to take any much longer, but thank you all so much. We're glad to have you.
All right, I'm just going to review again because we've had a couple people come on from Facebook and from our Zoom meeting. Again, if you just would please use the chat function to send us any questions you have tonight, that would be really great. We are monitoring that as we go along this evening. And because we do have so many people that are viewing us both on Zoom and on Facebook, we would really love to answer those questions, but that's really the best method for us to follow along with and make sure those questions get answered. So just to let you know, everybody is muted, and when we get to Q&A, we'll open up that opportunity, and you can unmute yourselves as well when you need to. So look for that. You can find those options on the bottom bar. They are on the lower left-hand corner for both audio and video. You can mute or stop video, and then the chat function should also be at the bottom bar for Zoom. And for you folks on Facebook, I'm going to trust that you can figure that out because I'm not there. And then for those of you on Zoom, we do have some recommended viewing, which is full screen or side by side. So you can see some of the slides we're going to present as well as the videos tonight. So with that, I'll hand it back to Michelle.
Thank you, Julia. I forgot I had another job, and that is to talk a little bit about our mission, which I am always excited to do. So I think you all wouldn't be here if you didn't kind of understand the top line of what we do, and that is supporting the most vulnerable kids out there right now in our community. Kids who have experienced abuse and neglect, who are involved in the child welfare system. As we all know, that system is complicated. These kids are thrown into a hotbed of change that we can only imagine what that change is like for these kids. And it really comes down to CASA volunteers being their one go-to, their one constant through what is sometimes a multi-year process, many changes of homes, home life, many court dates, so much going on in their life, and the CASA is the constant. And this is why this volunteer work is so important. And when we say that our volunteers change the trajectory of kids' lives, I have a million examples of of how that has happened. And my favorites are when our CASAs become pretty connected with kids. And the stories that really choke me up is when after years of working with a child, the CASA volunteer becomes the person who walks the CASA child down the aisle as they get married, or is there when they get their law degree, or is there when they're finishing an amazing athletic event. And seeing kids talk about the role that the CASA has in their life is amazing. The other really cool thing that inspires me and gives me energy to do the work I do is when I hear judges talk about how important it is to have a CASA in the room. Because as you know, people who work for the state, who work for our region, who work for our counties are overworked and underpaid. And they have 100 cases on their desk. And when the CASA could bring some insight to the judicial decision-making process, something people didn't know about their family life, didn't know about their school life, didn't know about special needs. This really helps the judge to sleep at night, that they feel that they have all the information they need to make these, really serious life important decisions. So that is just a little bit of kind of our mission and how these stories impact me and give me energy to do my work. And I hope they do the same for you, and that today during this open house, you'll learn a lot more about the specifics and can ask a lot more questions about what it really means to be a CASA. So with that, I guess I would also say that our job as volunteer supervisors and administrators in the organization are here to support the work of our volunteers. It's the most important thing we do every day. So I want people to know that a lot of this sounds kind of scary, kind of intense, seems like a lot of responsibility, but I want to assure you, you have an awesome staff that is with you all the way to support this kind of work. So never hesitate to reach out to me or anyone at CASA at any point, whether you're thinking about this kind of loosely, whether you're ready to apply, or if we have volunteers on the line who really want to have questions answered. We are just an open book and always accessible. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over, I think, to Julia. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Michelle. So one of the videos that we always really love to start with, and is a great quick explanation about what CASA is and what CASA does for children, is by sharing this one particular video that we're going to launch here in just 1 minute.
Growing up is tough for a kid. They have school and homework, practices and games, there are doctor's appointments and detention halls. The making friends and the keeping friends, discovering who they are and who they aren't. There's so much to learn. There's this whole world out there, right here. These times are transforming in someone's story, and they can really be quite chaotic. That chaos of being a child only increases when abuse and neglect fill their home. The normal winds of chaos are now a storm. And sometimes, when the storm is so great, a child must be removed from their home. And this is a really tough day. It's complicated and it's painful. When a child is removed from their home because of abuse or neglect, they leave their normal and they enter foster care. The court sends them to a new place, a new home, often to a new school with new people, new everything. And all of these new things aim at a better life for the child. They aim to help in the healing process for the family. But it's still tough. They still have the school activities, the doctor's appointments, and the lessons to learn. But now court dates, visits with parents, and check-ins with social workers quickly bombard the calendar. And there's the pain of separation from what they know and where they feel comfortable. There are hundreds of children in our city who experience chaotic days like this, weeks like this, years like this. And these days, weeks, and years are difficult. They're exhausting and isolating. They're really tough. But there are ways to help. Ways to bear the burdens the child is carrying. ways to make the days less tough. These children need to feel more supported. They need someone constant who is on their team, someone who is fighting for their best amidst all the shuffle. And a CASA volunteer provides this help. A court-appointed special advocate helps bear these burdens. They are the constant amidst the chaos. In the middle of all the shuffle and uncertainty, they know the child. There are still tough days, but now there's someone standing up for the child, day in, day out. Someone who knows both the biological and foster parents. Someone who meets with the teachers, doctors, and social workers to ensure the child's needs are being met. Someone who speaks for the child's best interest in court. Someone who the judge counts on for insight. Someone who cares about the child and just lets them be a kid. Someone who is there for the tough days, the great days, and the in-between days. This someone is so important. This someone is a CASA volunteer. And there are hundreds of children in our city waiting for a CASA volunteer. They're waiting for someone to speak up for them. They're waiting for someone to help weather the storm. Each child in foster care needs this support, this someone to count on. Be this someone for a child in foster care. Be their advocate. Be a powerful voice for their best interest. Be a CASA volunteer.
So our CASA program in the Eastern Panhandle serves Jefferson, Morgan, and Berkeley counties. And one of the people who helps to direct our volunteer advocates is Carrie Lefebvre. And so Carrie's going to talk to us for just a few minutes about our impact and share a few statistics with you as well. So Carrie, if you introduce yourself, and then I'll share when you're ready.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Julia. My name is Carrie, and I am one of the volunteer supervisors at CASA of the Eastern Panhandle. I came to this position after nearly 8 years in child welfare as a CPS worker myself. And I came into this position because I got to a point in my own career where I really wanted to help the helpers and support those who are in the throes, in the thick of this work, providing the direct support to those children. So I really love my position at CASA-EP, and I really love the work that I'm able to do both with the volunteers and with the families when I have an opportunity to do so. Julia, do you have the slides up, or? I'm sorry. So right now what we are looking at CASA is, our goal ultimately is a CASA for every child. We know that children are more likely to succeed in school and are more likely to find a permanent home faster, approximately 5 months sooner than their peers who do not have a CASA advocate on their team. And they're also half as likely to re-enter the foster care system. CASA advocates provide insight to the court and the team that is unlike what other team members who advocate for the children can do, because they are able to devote time and attention on an individual basis. Can we proceed one more? There we go. So right now, we can say that we have served approximately 217 children in our communities to date. We have nearly doubled our program numbers in terms of the amount of volunteers that we have serving our children, but we still have a long ways to go. Right now, we have nearly 500 children in front of the courts that are subject to abuse and neglect cases. With the current number of volunteers that we have assigned to children, we're looking at approximately 30% of service. That means that there are still 250, 260 children that need advocacy. So we are continuing to build our program, and in doing so, we are increasing our outreach through developing expanded awareness and recruitment, and also working to better support our volunteers. As I mentioned, I came into this field because I wanted to help the helpers, and we've been working to develop additional volunteer support and retention programs, such as monthly chat and chew sessions that happen on the first Saturday of the month and the second Wednesday of the month, which is an opportunity for CASA volunteers to get together with their peers and talk about concerns that they might have, problem solve and troubleshoot issues that they're having, if that in a case, come up with out of the box ideas that might help see successful resolution in these cases. We also are working to expand the programming that we offer to our CASA volunteers. That includes increasing our number of in-services that we're holding, and also providing supplementary training on a program called Fostering Futures, which is something that I'm particularly excited about. It's a supplemental program to teach you how to work with teens who are aging out of the foster care system. So there's a lot of science and studies out there that show that teens who age out of foster care face some pretty significant negative outcomes. And the goal of the Fostering Futures program is to help increase basic life skills in these youth, so that when they do turn 18 and they are on their own, they have the capacity to self-support and meet their needs and be successful young people in our society. And I lost my slide.
Well, Carrie, I think you did a great job covering it. And really, it's a great transition, because one of our highlights for doing a virtual open house is hearing directly from an advocate. So we actually will, if I can, sorry, give me just 1 second. I'm gonna put the feature back on Melody, because Melody Stotler, she is our most current new staff member at CASA of the Eastern Panhandle, but Melody is actually a CASA advocate as well. And so she is joining us today to share her experience, her story about how she kind of came to CASA of the Eastern Panhandle, and also, you know, what is meaningful to her in the work. So Melody, please share, and also please, this is everybody's opportunity to share those questions in your chat box. Thanks.
Thank you. So I got to give a shout out to my mom, because she's on here and I've been pestering her about joining CASA and considering it. So my mom is Vicki Jenkins, and so thank you, Mom, for joining. I really appreciate it. So I've already kind of shared with her what my passion is, but I just have to tell you, one of the questions that we were talking about was, what made you want to become a volunteer advocate? And I'm part of the Morgan County Partnership, which is a drug prevention program in Morgan County, and we have a monthly breakfast during the school year, and somebody from CASA had come to our meeting like maybe 2 years ago and shared, and my eyes just lit up, just, you know, from hearing about what CASAs do. And I can remember my director, because I worked there part-time, looking at me and shaking her head going, no, don't even think about it. Your plate is full, don't even think about it. So I was like, you're right, you're right, you're right. So then I think last year Susan Caperton came and she shared again, and I could just feel the tug on my heart, like, yeah, you need to do this. So despite everybody saying your plate is full, I did it, and I absolutely fell in love. So I just have to tell you that I took the class in the beginning of February this year, and from that moment on, I mean, I knew when Susan shared that it was an incredible thing to be a part of, but I had no idea what I was actually getting into. So Carrie gave me my first case, and I was just like, this is awesome. This is so great. So I'm a big sister in Washington County to a little girl, and I see so many similarities with the program. So the connections and that one person that is there for that child. And just in that little video, you got to see that they are the constant. When everything else is changing around for that child, that person is the constant. So anyway, that's why I joined and wanted to become a CASA volunteer. And I've been telling everybody, you really need to do this. This is awesome. And it is so rewarding. So anyway, I've only been a part of CASA since this year. One of the questions that they wanted me to answer, what's the easiest thing about being a CASA? Or the best part about being a CASA, and for me, is reunification, for when the parent makes that choice to put their child first. Obviously, these are neglect and abuse cases, so what you're going to see is definitely tough. And there are going to be some cases and some things that you see and read that you're just like, wow, this is really happening. But there are also a lot of cases that are drug related. And just my personal story, I talk about being part of the Morgan County Partnership, but my daughter is actually in recovery. And so for me, I have seen through to the other side, and I know recovery is possible. One of my best friends lost her 4 children when she was active in addiction. And she actually goes and she talks at presentations that we do at the school, and she shares that she doesn't, I'll have to do it later, sorry. She shares that, she can't even remember what her youngest child's voice sounds like. So, I see her and I see that she's got 10 years clean, and I know that, recovery is possible. She has reunified with her 2 oldest children, but she still doesn't have anything to do with the youngest children. So I just, in the short period of time that I've been with CASA, I can see that the one case that I've had, I've seen the girl take off running and do everything she can to get her kids back. And then, and the frustrating side of things is when the judge is like, all right, I'm giving you another chance. And the person's like, okay. And then they come back the next court date and they've done nothing. And so that's frustrating, because you're like, this is your chance. This is your chance to get your kids back, to live right, to do everything that you need to do. So that's a little bit about the hardest thing. Another hard thing for me was just learning the reports and stuff, and just making sure that I'm doing everything right. I don't think you realize how important the CASA is in a court case until the judge says, well, the CASA report said, and you're like, oh, that's me. I hope I have everything right, So Carrie has been excellent, Dell has been excellent, and they've given me some really great tips on, making sure you're documenting right away and different things like that. I'm sorry, I got to shut my door real quick. I'm sorry. My apologies. Sorry. The cleaning crew came in and I was thinking I was alone. Sorry. So that's just a little bit about some of the things that I've learned from CASA. So, and one of the other questions that they wanted me to cover was how did I incorporate CASA volunteering into my life? Which, if you heard me say earlier, my plate being full, it is full, and my mom will tell you, and my husband will also tell you, that I have a really hard time saying no. So at first it was like, okay, so I have this job and I have this job, and then I want to do this on the side. But it really didn't take that much time commitment. So you're really only given one case unless you ask for more. And in the beginning, it's kind of busy because there's an initial order and you have to go to court and hear the things that are going on and why the case is happening. But it's not a consistent thing. So it really does have a lot of flexibility. Some of the other things that we've found are some people can go to court, some people are better at writing reports. So we'll even partner people together. So that's also helpful if you excel at something more than the other. So you can actually partner with somebody and be a team for the kid. How do you deal with tough cases? You'll hear that Carrie said we have chat and choose. And the chat and choose are awesome. So that is our time to come together as advocates and say, look, this is what I have going on with my case. And I'm really trying to help this family see that this is what they need to do, but they're not getting it. And you have this super experienced advocate who said, you know what, that happened to me too, and this is what I did. So the fact that we have each other that we can bounce things off of, and of course you'll have a volunteer supervisor, and if you're in Morgan County, you would have me, and I would love to be able to help, you know, through those difficult things. I'm still learning too, so we'll also have Carrie and Dell. So what other resources for support? So CASA is a national thing, and so we have all these ongoing webinars, especially for different things that are going on in the world. Right now we have COVID. We have families who are struggling with stimulus checks. They need that money. So they're doing a webinar for that, and they're going to say, hey, this is how you can help your family. So obviously we have our own stuff too. And what would I say to somebody that wants to become a CASA volunteer? Do it. You will not regret it. It is life-changing. You will, I can't describe the warm and fuzzy that you get, but when you hear about this child, the constant, you are the constant person in this child's life, that should speak volumes to you. But Julia shared, I think in the beginning, or maybe Michelle, about they're there for the graduation. They're there for when they get their law degree. And, you know, they might be the person that walks them down the aisle. Think about it. If you were a child and you were in this circumstance, who would be there for you? And the fact that somebody, a complete stranger, can come in and love on this child and just be there for everything that they're going through is just amazing to me. So anyway, that's my story, and I know I'm kind of all over the place, but it's just an exciting time for me. I am super, super thrilled to be part of CASA, especially as a staff member, but I was even more thrilled to be a volunteer too. So everybody's been wonderful, and you will not be left high and dry. You will get the training that you need, and it's definitely not that much of a time commitment. So do it.
Well, I don't think that we could have gotten a better cheerleader for CASA advocacy. And we all know so well that Melody is just absolutely amazing. I don't think that Melody would claim this, but I didn't discover it. She didn't confess it to me, but she was a 2020 Woman of Distinction, and she really is a person of great distinction for our community. So we're very grateful for you, Melody, and very thankful for you sharing your story, your experience tonight. And to kind of follow up with that, Carrie and I would love to share with you all, and Carrie's going to kind of give you all a day in the life of a CASA and what that kind of looks like. And then from there, we'll let Dell tell everybody a little bit more about what exactly happens with training and what our next trainings are going to look like.
So I think people might have some questions about what does this really look like? What am I really going to be doing? And so I like to be able to kind of give a sort of broad overview, but in language that you can really understand. And, you know, once you become, we train you in our in-house and provide you with the tools that you'll need to understand the child welfare system as it plays out in our communities, introduce you to some of the big topics that you might be facing, such as domestic violence or cultural competency or substance abuse and mental health, and how those impact family functioning. So once you complete your training process and get assigned to your first case, you are supported all the way. I go to the first hearing with my CASA advocates. I attend MDTs if that's something that they feel they would like assistance with, and help facilitate you gathering the information that you need to be able to fully advocate for children. I know you might be wondering, how can I be doing that right now? We're probably looking at another lockdown. And I will say that not only has our community come together, but CASA-EP has really come together to continue to meet the needs of the children in our communities and be able to continue to do our work. So I can assure you that the courts have adapted and are holding hearings virtually. The training has been adapted so that we can deliver it in a format that we don't have to risk anybody's health and safety. And advocates are still able to see their children by conducting virtual visits, just like we're doing right now. So the work is, you can still do the work. You can still make a difference, even in times like this when we are socially and physically so distant. Our community and the work we do has been able to adapt and continue to provide these services to the children in need. So I wanted to kind of assure you of that and give you an idea of how we're continuing to do business in light of COVID and all of the changes that have come along in our society right now.
Thank you, Carrie. So Dell's going to tell you all a little bit about how the training is actually happening, especially now in our socially distanced setting. And as Dell is talking to you all, I'm going to put a couple of links in that chat box. If any of you still continue to have questions, please keep shooting them on over. So Dell, please tell us a little bit more about how our training looks now.
Thank you, Julia. Good evening, everyone. My name is Dell Pope, and I am the Director of Training and Advocate Development. Our training is broken out over 8 days. We do 4 days and 4 days. So we don't require you to spend 8 consecutive days with us. But we do have training dates currently scheduled for October 19th through the 29th. And again, we will do 4 days, take a weekend break, and then do 4 days again. We cover information that equips you with the CASA history. You will learn that the CASA program was established nationally in 1982, but also has its roots in Seattle, Washington, in King County, and that started in 1977 with Judge David Suka. And so the organization has spread its arms wide across the country. We have the privilege of serving in this 23rd Judicial Circuit, again in Morgan, Jefferson, and Berkeley counties, and we do our best to equip you through the national curriculum that comes out of the national office, and we place great emphasis on local impact. I want to say to you that this training will prepare you to do this critical work, and you will have a direct impact on your community. There is great satisfaction in being able to do this work, learn these processes, and be able to impact the community where we live. We engage with local attorneys. We engage with local doctors and medical personnel. We engage with local CPS. And most importantly, we engage with what I believe is the leader in the state of West Virginia of CASA programs, and that is CASA of the Eastern Panhandle. You will have an opportunity to meet our entire staff, and we do our training virtually so that, again, we don't jeopardize or risk your health. But we're entering into our 4th training cycle for the year, and as we continue to move along, we are also learning how to better facilitate this virtual training. And so we are very, very excited about what our training will bring for October. And I encourage you to please hear what Melody said. If you're passionate about the people in our community, and more particular, if you are passionate about the children in our community, children who are oftentimes the last, the least, and the left out. If you're passionate about them, this is the work that you want to do. And I want to encourage you. There's a process that you will need to follow. There's an application process. I encourage you, please do what you need to do to get involved in the application process so that we can get you enrolled in our class for October. I look forward to leading you through our training and seeing you become a vital part of our team through advocacy. All right. Thank you, Julia. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
All right, thank you, Del. Sorry, I'm catching up with myself. We have everybody's kind of talked about this, the meaning of the impact that we each experience in being a part of this work and how it makes a difference. One of the last videos that I always love to share when we host an open house, and that I just love to share in general, is really the story of a mother and daughter reconnecting through the work of CASA. So we'll share that video with you now, and I'll be sharing that link with you as well if you want to watch this again.
I struggled with addiction from the time I was younger, early middle school, and it wasn't until I was prescribed pain pills from a doctor that I just was like, I had no idea that the level of addiction could get to the point where your physical body hurt if you weren't taking something. I was pregnant, I was in and out of jail. I didn't know that there was a different way of life for anyone that was living the existence that I was. It was full of trauma and pain. When you are locked up, you have no idea if your child is safe. You just had a brand new baby. You're trying to communicate with the jail. No one's giving you answers. You're not getting to court. You have no visit from a social worker. You have no money on your books to call someone, even if you had a number. Like, that is terrifying, right? Terrifying. And I spent months in that state. All of a sudden, this woman came into the jail, and she sat in front of me, and she told me she was my daughter's CASA, and I had no idea what that meant. But when I heard, like, your daughter, that was something I could hold on to. And she put the picture of my baby in front of me, and I had only ever held my daughter for a few seconds. So just like looking at that picture and seeing this beautiful little girl shining bright. And Michelle told me that she knows that I would have a really hard journey, but that, like, you know, there's something worthwhile in the whole entire experience, and that, you know, I could put one foot in front of another and hold my head high and do what I needed to do because that little girl needed me. And so rather than looking at me in my current state in the handcuffs and in the red uniform, I believe that she saw me for the potential. She saw my heart, and she poured life into me. I swear, like, every time I touch her hand, it's just this reminder of how precious life is and how precious she is. And she, like, loves her mommy. She, like, longs for her mommy, you know. And I'm just so honored that through all the pain I've been able to heal. And she deserves that, you know. She deserves that. But I needed people walking alongside of me, pouring life into me. Anything is possible when someone cares. Absolutely. We have a bright future. And Michelle did that for me. And she did that for my daughter, more importantly. And, you know, today is the benefit and the outcome 9 years later. Like, my daughter and I are so close, all over my office. I mean, she calls me BME, best mom ever. I call her BDE, best daughter ever. She's so special, you know? And I'm so grateful that there was someone who reminded me, even in the darkest time and in the darkest place. And I wish that more individuals like Michelle, like other CASAs, like other professionals, will come and remind people at their lowest moments that this doesn't have to be your future.
So we would love to open up the floor for any questions that anybody would like to throw out there. And I'm sure that Carrie or Dell or Melody or our board, they'd be happy to answer any questions you might have as well. So we'll take a couple minutes. If you will remember, you just unmute yourself at the bottom of the screen and go ahead and share your questions if you want to ask anything specific. And if we have any questions maybe on Facebook, Carrie, we would love to hear those too.
Not at this time.
Okay, great.
Do you have an age limit for volunteers?
No.
Age,
Del says yes.
age requirement, yes. Age limit, no. The age requirement is 21 years.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
There's no limit at the top end.
Okay.
I do believe that we have some advocates that are over the age of 80, I think.
We have several octogenarians.
Okay.
We do.
Can you be a foster mother and still be a volunteer?
We've had some issues in the past with folks fostering and working as CASA. And so what we recommend is that for us that you do one or the other. If you're going to foster, then we say foster. But if you're going to be a CASA, we say don't foster. Now, I don't want to discourage you from the work, but I do want you to know that we have had some issues in the past with that.
Well, I don't have, right now I'm not doing foster. I don't have any foster kids and I'm not planning on getting any, but I just renewed my foster law in May.
Okay.
I am still a foster parent.
Okay.
But I'm not, you know, planning on getting any foster children.
Okay.
I actually have 2 that I adopted.
Okay, very good.
I actually adopted 3, but one is 18 now and he doesn't live here anymore.
I see.
But yeah, the 2 little ones, it's my great grandchildren, so I know what that's like.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, one of the things, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Ms. Clavette, but one of the things I just realized we did forget to share with folks earlier this evening. I did want to share, Del, I don't think we talked about or that I shared the actual topics that we go over in the training. So if you have a second to cover that very quickly, I think that might also help people's questions.
Yes. I'm sorry, responding to a question on Facebook Live.
Okay.
I was going to get that, Del. I wanted to do it, answer verbally so that everybody could see the question.
Okay, you go ahead.
Okay. Well, there is a question from, I hope I'm saying it correctly, Jolie from Facebook Live, and that person is asking if you have to live in West Virginia to be a volunteer, and the answer is no. But you may have to be in West Virginia for meetings or court hearings. So being able to get, transport yourself to your hearing or a meeting is all that is really necessary. We have advocates that live just over the border in Virginia and in Maryland.
And in Maryland. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So that is not a requirement.
All right.
Great.
Thank you. Some of the topics that we'll cover in our training, we'll look at the well-being of a child. We'll talk about trauma, childhood trauma and resilience. We'll talk about mental health and poverty. We'll look at substance abuse and substance abuse statistics. We have one of our assistant prosecuting attorneys who leads us through a piece on the court system, and also talks about working with CPS and the DHHR. We talk about domestic violence and cultural competence. We also talk about, as Carrie explained, we talk about older youth who are close to aging out of the system. And so we want to be we are very intentional about what we share with you, because we want to arm you with the best information so that you can be the best advocate that your child can have.
And one of the other pieces I thought, from conversations that I've had with other folks, is drawing that difference between the two types of advocacy that we are really doing. So we have the advocacy where someone has the ultimate goal of placement or reunification with their family, but then also the kind of category of people, children that are aging out of the system, and that those are very different goals that we work towards, but we do both through our CASA program.
Well, and ultimately, our CASA's goal in their advocacy is to that the child involved in these cases achieves a safe home and a permanent home as quickly as possible. Whatever that looks like, whether that's positive reunification with the family, if that's adoption, if that is transfer to another relative that lives in another state. There are so many different options, but ultimately what we want to see happen is that children achieve permanency and safety as quickly as possible, because that's what studies and that's what science says is the best outcome for children. And so when you look at working with older youth, that advocacy changes a little bit and becomes almost like a mentor relationship, because you want to be able to prepare those youth for the realities of day-to-day adult life. And when teens are being raised in congregate care settings, such as in a group home or residential treatment, they're not getting that one-on-one parent-child interaction, or even adult-child interaction that would provide them with the tools that they need to learn how to fill out a job application, or how do I schedule my own doctor's appointment, how do I find out where my medical card really lives, kind of things. So sorry.
And Del, could you tell us, because you did talk about this just a few minutes ago, could you tell us a little bit about what the exact process is for application? And then we also have a question about if there is a cost, or what costs there are for volunteers.
Okay. Very good. So the application process, if you are here with us on Zoom, there's a link in the chat that you can click on that link and begin the application process. When you click that link, it will take you to an initial application that will find out exactly what your desire is. If you want to be fully engaged in advocacy, or if you want to, do some work around the office with us. And so you'll make that determination. There's a long application that has to be filled out if you're going to serve, if you want to serve as an advocate. And so you will fill that application out. It is done online, and once you click submit, it comes to our office through our database management. And you'll be contacted then by one of our staff. Usually that's Carrie Lefebvre. You'll be contacted, and an interview will be scheduled, and there are several background checks that we run. We will run those background checks. And once you're clear, we'll contact you, let you know that you're in the queue for our class. And then come October 19, we hit the ground running together. What was the other part of the question? I'm sorry.
That's okay. The other part of the question was, are there any costs associated with being a volunteer? And then we do have another question after that.
Okay, very good. And so there are no costs to you. We do have an FBI background check that we do. It is paid for by the program. All we want you to do is to set up your appointment and then go in and get that fingerprinting done. You don't have to pay for that. And so we try to make this as easy a process for you as it can be, because we want you to be a part of this organization and the CASA-EP family.
So we had a question from Hannah Marsh, which is always a great one, and one that we'd certainly try to cover as well. The question is whether about pairing up with another CASA volunteer. So if a couple can apply and both can be volunteers together, or if they could be a CASA team for a single child. And we actually have quite a few. So we love the fact actually that we have so many CASA teams. Many of them actually are husband and wife teams. We have people that have become a team just through the training process, which is always an excellent way to kind of figure out what people's needs are. But we do have a lot of people, and we typically do, correct me if I'm wrong, Del, we typically do recommend that a first case, unless you have kind of experience and background in doing that work alone, that it typically be done in a co-CASA team fashion for that
That's
first
correct.
case. So certainly couples, friends, co-workers, I've seen a lot of CASA programs across the nation that have talked about CASA buddies, so two guys that challenge each other to become a team together, because we always know that we need more men and certainly more representation, for people of color as well. So we really want to make sure that we have people that are applying and interested and challenging each other to join together as a team, however format that takes. So we're kind of coming to the end here. We've got about 3 minutes left, and I really just wanted to let people know the ways that you can continue to support CASA of the Eastern Panhandle. If you want to become an advocate today and you've decided that it's the right fit for you, please find one of those links that was shared earlier tonight for the application, and you can begin your application online. You can also download that format and fill it out ahead of time. It'll save you a few minutes and is helpful just in getting those references and background check type information together too. But if you're not ready to become an advocate, you can still complete your application. You can still get into our system just as an organizational volunteer. But you can also help us by just simply sharing the message. That's a really important thing about all CASA programs, is sharing the message and sharing the need that there are children out there waiting for someone to be an advocate and provide a voice for them in courts. We always need people who can help grow our program. So people in the community that maybe participate in other programs. If you see a connection there, please let us know, because we are always looking for ways to improve and to grow our program. And certainly donation. We always are in need of donations, because we are a nonprofit agency, and so much of what we're doing, particularly now because we are distanced, and many nonprofits have seen changes to their funding and fundraising abilities too, those donations really do make a difference. Someone asked earlier in terms of cost to volunteers, it takes about $1,000 to provide the training and support that we do each year for an advocate over the course of a year. So those donations, again, do really make a difference. We do have a superhero challenge. It's a run where you are, or run, walk, hike, jog where you are. challenge for the month of October, and I'll put those links in our little chat box there too. And you'll certainly be seeing those on social media if you follow us on Facebook. So please continue to consider whether you have it in your heart to do CASA advocacy. We certainly are appreciative of your time tonight, and really grateful for the interest that we've received through the community, through Facebook. We're really grateful for the response that so many people have had over the course of this year, particularly as we are seeing people, even from Hagerstown, somebody mentioned, that we are very grateful, not just for the people in our 3 counties that we serve, but that there are people even outside of our region that really want to contribute to children in this particular area. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us tonight. It's right at 6:30, so we'll let you go and let you go on to dinner. But please, again, if you have any questions, email us volunteer@mycasaep.org, and you'll be hearing from us soon. We've got your emails, and we'll be sure to share this information with you through that method. So thanks, everybody, for joining us tonight, and have a great evening.